Listen carefully and do not deflect this moment. This is not a rebuke, it is an awakening. There comes a point in every person's life where prayer alone is no longer enough if attention is absent. God can open doors, but he will not leave your life for you. You must work on yourself. You must pay attention to your life. No one drifts into purpose. People drift into trouble. Purpose is built with intention. If you do not manage your habits will manage your future. If you do not examine your patterns will explain your outcomes. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what distracts you. Pay attention to what you keep postponing. These are not small things. They are signals. You cannot keep praying for change while repeating the same behaviors that produce the same results. God will give grace, but he will not excuse negligence. Grace empowers responsibility. It does not replace it. Look at your life honestly, not emotionally, not defensively, honestly. What you tolerate today becomes what you normalize tomorrow, and what you normalize eventually becomes what you defend. If you do not confront what is wrong early, you will have to manage what is broken later. Pay attention to how you spend your time. Pay attention to how you respond under pressure. Pay attention to the people who influence your thinking. Your future is being shaped quietly by daily decisions, not dramatic moments. You must work on your discipline. Prayer gives direction, but discipline gives traction. Without discipline, vision becomes frustration. Without discipline, revelation becomes noise. No one accidentally becomes focused. No one accidentally becomes consistent. No one accidentally becomes excellent. These things are built. Pay attention to your inner life. What you feed your mind will eventually lead your life. If your thoughts are chaotic, your outcomes will be unstable. If your thoughts are disciplined, your future will be ordered. You must learn when to say no. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves access. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are wisdom. Pay attention to warning signs. Fatigue that never lifts. Confusion that keeps repeating. Cycles that won't break. These are invitations to adjust, not signs to ignore. You cannot blame the past forever. At some point, responsibility must replace explanation. Healing does not mean pretending it never happened. It means refusing to let it keep deciding for you. Work on your mindset. Work on your consistency. Work on your self-control. These are spiritual responsibilities. God will guide you, but you must follow. God will speak, but you must listen. God will open opportunities, but you must be prepared to walk through them. Pay attention to your life, because no one else will steward it for you. This is not pressure, this is power. When you pay attention, you take ownership. When you take ownership, things begin to change. And if you are willing to work on yourself with honesty and discipline, your life will begin to respond differently. Do not ignore this moment. Pay attention. Stay with this truth and do not rush past it, because this is where many people fail quietly. Not loudly, not rebelliously, quietly. They hear truth, feel conviction, and then return to autopilot. But transformation does not happen by awareness alone. It happens by attention applied consistently. You must work on yourself, because no one else can do that work for you. God can give instruction, but he will not override your habits. God can open your eyes, but he will not force your hands. If you do not take responsibility for your inner life, your outer life will keep exposing the neglect. Pay attention to your routines. Routines are invisible architects of destiny. What you do daily shapes who you become eventually. If your days are disorganized, your future will be unstable. If your days are disciplined, your future will be predictable in a good way. Pay attention to how you wake up. Pay attention to how you transition into your day. Pay attention to how quickly distractions take over. These small moments decide the tone of your life. You cannot build a focused future with a scattered mind. If your attention is constantly pulled in every direction, depth will always escape you. Depth requires withdrawal. Depth requires saying no. Depth requires intentional silence. You must work on your focus, not motivation focus. Motivation comes and goes. Focus is trained. If you wait to feel motivated, you will stay inconsistent. But if you train focus, progress will continue even when feelings fluctuate. Pay attention to what you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, what you read. Your mind cannot stay disciplined if it is constantly fed chaos. Mental clutter produces emotional instability. Emotional instability produces inconsistent action, and inconsistent action produces regret. Pay attention to your excuses. Excuses are often symptoms, not reasons. They reveal where discipline has not been installed. They reveal where fear still has influence. They reveal where comfort has replaced growth. You say you are tired, but tired from what? You say you are busy, but busy with what? You say you are overwhelmed, but overwhelmed by what you chose or what you avoided. Honesty here is power. You must work on your emotional regulation. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not every feeling deserves expression. Mature people feel deeply but respond wisely. If emotions control your decisions, your life will swing endlessly between extremes. Pay attention to patterns. Patterns do not lie. If something keeps repeating, it is trying to teach you something you have not learned yet. Ignoring patterns is choosing future pain. Pay attention to your relationships. The people you allow close to you shape your thinking, your standards, and your tolerance. If your environment does not challenge you to grow, it is training you to stagnate. You must work on your boundaries. Boundaries protect focus. Without boundaries, discipline collapses. You cannot say yes to everything and still expect excellence anywhere. Pay attention to how you handle pressure. Pressure reveals preparation. When pressure comes, do you default to panic or to process? Do you escape or do you engage? These reactions are learned and they can be retrained. You must work on your consistency. Consistency is not intensity, it is reliability. It is showing up even when it feels ordinary. Extraordinary lives are built on ordinary obedience done repeatedly. Pay attention to unfinished things. Unfinished tasks drain mental energy. Procrastination is expensive. It steals clarity, confidence, and momentum. Finishing what you start trains your mind to trust itself. You must work on your self-talk. The way you speak to yourself determines how you show up in the world. If your inner dialogue is harsh, you will shrink. If it is careless, you will drift. If it is disciplined and truthful, you will grow. Pay attention to how you respond to correction. If you become defensive, growth slows. If you become teachable, progress accelerates. Correction is not rejection, it is refinement. You must work on your patience. Growth takes time, but impatience makes people abandon good processes prematurely. Many people fail not because they chose the wrong thing, but because they quit the right thing too early. Pay attention to where you are avoiding discomfort. Growth always introduces tension. If you always choose comfort, your life will become small. If you choose growth, discomfort becomes temporary, but progress becomes permanent. You must work on your awareness. Awareness is the difference between drifting and directing. When you pay attention, you notice warning signs early. You are just before damage occurs. You respond instead of react. No one accidentally becomes disciplined. No one accidentally becomes focused. No one accidentally becomes whole. These are built intentionally. Pay attention to your life, because every day you are becoming someone. The only question is whether that person is being formed deliberately or accidentally. This is not condemnation. This is empowerment. When you pay attention, you take control. When you take control, your life begins to change. Stay here. This work matters. Stay with this truth, because this is where real change separates from emotional moments. Working on yourself is not a season, it is a responsibility. Paying attention to your life is not optional, it is the price of growth. When people say they want more, what they often mean is they want results without awareness. That never works. You must learn to slow down enough to notice yourself, notice your triggers, notice your habits, notice how quickly you abandon structure when no one is watching. What you do when there is no audience reveals what you are truly committed to. Pay attention to how you spend your mornings. Mornings quietly decide the quality of the rest of your day. If your mornings are rushed, your decisions will be shallow. If your mornings are intentional, your life will feel anchored. You don't need perfection, you need consistency. You must work on your discipline before life forces discipline on you. Life always disciplines the unprepared through loss, pressure, and regret. Self-discipline is gentler. It corrects early. It preserves energy. It protects peace. Pay attention to the way you delay hard things. Hard things don't disappear when postponed. They multiply. The conversation you keep avoiding, the task you keep pushing back, the habit you keep excusing, these things accumulate interest. The longer you wait, the heavier they become. You must work on finishing. Finishing trains your mind to trust you. When you constantly start and don't complete, you weaken your own confidence. But when you finish even small things, you build internal credibility. That credibility becomes momentum. Pay attention to how you handle boredom. Boredom is where discipline is tested. Anyone can show up when they are inspired. Growth happens when you show up when it feels ordinary. Ordinary days are not obstacles. They are the training ground. You must work on your emotional honesty. Stop pretending you're fine when you're unfocused. Stop calling exhaustion being busy. Stop calling fear being cautious. Labels matter because they either confront the issue or protect it. Pay attention to your environment. Your environment is constantly teaching you what is acceptable. If chaos surrounds you, chaos will feel normal. If focus surrounds you, discipline becomes easier. Sometimes growth begins by changing what you allow around you. You must work on your attention span. A distracted mind cannot build a meaningful life. If you cannot stay with one task, one thought, one goal long enough, depth will always escape you. Depth is where skill grows. Depth is where mastery forms. Pay attention to your reactions under stress. Stress does not create habits, it reveals them. When pressure comes, do you shut down, lash out, escape, or refocus? Whatever shows up there is what needs work. Not condemnation, but training. You must work on your ability to sit with discomfort. Growth feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. If you run at the first sign of tension, you will always stay where you are. Learn to stay long enough for strength to develop. Pay attention to your internal dialogue. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you treat your future. If you constantly criticize without correcting, you will feel stuck. If you challenge yourself with honesty and compassion, progress becomes sustainable. You must work on your boundaries. Saying yes to everything is not kindness, it is confusion. Every yes costs something. If you do not decide what deserves your energy, everything will take it. Pay attention to the small warnings. Fatigue that lingers, focus that keeps breaking, motivation that disappears. These are not failures, they are signals. Ignoring signals does not make you strong, it makes consequences louder. You must work on your patience with yourself. Growth is not instant, but it is predictable when effort is consistent. Do not quit because you don't see results immediately. Seeds grow in silence before they show above the ground. Pay attention to your progress, not just your problems. Many people lose momentum because they only notice what is missing. Measure improvement honestly. Celebrate discipline. Acknowledge effort. This reinforces the behavior you want to keep. You must work on showing up when it is inconvenient. Convenience never builds character. The life you want requires actions you won't always feel like taking. Feelings follow structure, not the other way around. Pay attention to how often you postpone your own growth for other people's comfort. If you keep shrinking to keep peace, resentment will grow quietly. Healthy growth sometimes makes others uncomfortable. That does not mean it is wrong. You must work on responsibility. Responsibility is not burden, it is ownership. When you take ownership, you stop waiting to be rescued by circumstances. You start directing your life intentionally. Pay attention to today, not tomorrow, not next year. Today. What you do today is voting for the person you are becoming. One vote doesn't decide everything, but repeated votes do. This is not about pressure. This is about power. When you work on yourself, you stop drifting. When you pay attention to your life, you stop repeating cycles. Stay with this work. It will change everything. Stay with this, because this is the kind of truth that changes a life quietly and permanently. Not overnight, not emotionally, but structurally. Working on yourself is not an event, it is a posture. Paying attention to your life is not something you do once you are free. It is how you become free. Most people are not failing because life is unfair. They are failing because they are unobservant. They live on autopilot. Days pass, weeks blur, years accumulate, and then they wake up confused about how they arrive where they are. Nothing mysterious happened. Neglect happened gradually. You must learn to observe yourself without lying to yourself. Pay attention to how you lose time. Time does not disappear. It leaks. It leaks through distraction. It leaks through avoidance. It leaks through indecision. If you do not audit your time honestly, you will always feel behind no matter how busy you are. Ask yourself hard questions and don't rush the answers. Why do I keep postponing what matters? Why do I avoid stillness? Why do I consume so much and produce so little? These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to wake you up. You must work on your ability to stay with one thing. Fragmented attention produces fragmented results. If you are always switching, always scrolling, always reacting, your life will feel shallow no matter how intelligent you are. Depth is built by staying longer than comfort allows. Pay attention to your escape habits. Everyone escapes something. Some escape boredom, some escape discomfort, some escape responsibility. The problem is not that you escape. The problem is what you escape instead of confronting. If you keep escaping discomfort, growth will always feel threatening. If you keep escaping silence, clarity will always feel distant. You must work on staying present even when it is uncomfortable. Pay attention to your emotional patterns. Do you quit when things stop feeling exciting? Do you become inconsistent when results slow down? Do you withdraw when correction shows up? These patterns are not personality traits. They are trained responses, and anything trained can be retrained. You must work on emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is not suppressing feelings, it is managing them. It is learning how to feel disappointment without abandoning discipline. It is learning how to feel fear without surrendering direction. Pay attention to how you respond to pressure. Pressure does not ruin people, it reveals what was already weak. If pressure consistently breaks your routines, then your routines were never solid. That is not condemnation, that is information. You must work on building systems, not moods. Moods change. Systems carry you when motivation disappears. If your life only works when you feel inspired, your future will always be unstable. Pay attention to the promises you make to yourself and don't keep. Every broken promise to yourself weakens your internal authority. You stop trusting your own word. That is dangerous. Self-trust is foundational for growth. Finish small things. Keep simple commitments. Show up when you said you would. This rebuilds integrity internally. You must work on your relationship with discomfort. Discomfort is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Most meaningful growth happens when you are slightly uncomfortable but still committed. Learn to stay there. That is where strength forms. Pay attention to the stories you tell yourself. I'm just tired. This is just how I am. I'll start when things calm down. These stories sound harmless, but they quietly delay change. Challenge them. Replace them with truth. You must work on intentional solitude. If you never sit with yourself, you will never know yourself. If you never slow down, you will never notice what needs fixing. Silence is not emptiness. It is a mirror. Pay attention to your standards. Standards determine outcomes. If your standards are low, effort will always feel optional. Raise them gently but firmly. Decide what kind of life you are no longer willing to live. You must work on patience with the process. People quit because they expect fast results from slow work. Discipline compounds quietly. Consistency feels unimpressive until it suddenly isn't. Pay attention to progress, not perfection. Perfectionism often hides fear. Progress builds courage. One disciplined day will not change your life, but many disciplined days will. You must work on courage, not loud courage, but quiet courage. The courage to be consistent, the courage to disappoint others to keep your life intact, the courage to change habits that once comforted you. Pay attention to what you are becoming, not just what you are achieving. Achievement without character collapses. Character without attention erodes. You need both. This is the work. Not glamorous, not loud, but powerful. When you work on yourself daily, your life starts responding differently. When you pay attention, cycles break. When you stay intentional, momentum builds. Do not rush this process. Do not abandon it. This work will change everything. Stay with this work. This is where attention becomes transformation. Many people want a breakthrough without building a life that can hold it. They want relief without responsibility. They want outcomes without ownership. But nothing meaningful lasts unless it is supported by daily attention. You must understand this clearly. What you ignore grows louder. What you avoid returns stronger. What you postpone eventually demands payment. Paying attention early is mercy. Paying attention late is consequence. So choose mercy. Pay attention to your energy, not just your time. Time management fails when energy is unmanaged. Notice when you feel most clear, most capable, most calm. Protect those windows. Don't spend your best energy on your least important tasks. That single adjustment can change everything. Pay attention to the moments you compromise with yourself. The just this once moments. The I'll do it later moments. Those moments don't seem dangerous, but they train your mind to accept delay. Train it differently. Choose follow through when it's inconvenient. That is how discipline becomes identity. You must work on follow through. Ideas don't change lives, execution does. Inspiration doesn't build futures, repetition does. If you keep collecting ideas without acting on them, you feel busy but remain stagnant. Decide what matters and finish it. Pay attention to how you start things. Starting rushed often leads to quitting early. Slow your start, clarify your next step, reduce the size of the task until it becomes undeniable. Progress loves simplicity. You must work on simplicity. Complexity is often procrastination wearing intelligence. Strip things down. One habit, one focus, one improvement at a time. Depth beats breadth when you're building stability. Pay attention to your inner agreements. What have you quietly agreed to? I'm not disciplined. I always mess this up. I work better under pressure. These are not facts, they are contracts. Tear them up, replace them with agreements that support growth. I show up even when it's ordinary. I finish what I start. I get better with repetition. You must work on self-honesty without self-attack. Attacking yourself drains energy. Correcting yourself builds it. Be firm and fair. Name what needs to change and take the next right action. That's it. Pay attention to your environmental cues. Your environment is always nudging behavior. If your phone is always within reach, distraction will win. If clutter surrounds you, focus will struggle. Change cues to change outcomes. Put friction where you want less behavior. Remove friction where you want more. You must work on decision hygiene. Fewer decisions mean better decisions. Create defaults that support your goals. Decide in advance when you walk, rest, train, reflect. The fewer debates you have with yourself, the more energy you have to build. Pay attention to micro wins. Momentum is built from small kept promises. Show up for 10 minutes, write one page, clean one area. Small wins rebuild trust with yourself. Trust fuels courage. Courage fuels consistency. You must work on recovery, not just effort. Burnout often comes from ignoring recovery. Schedule rest with the same seriousness as work. Recovery is not laziness, it's maintenance. Maintain systems last longer. Pay attention to how you handle silence. Silence exposes what noise hides. If silence makes you uncomfortable, that's information. Sit there, listen, let clarity surface. Many answers arrive when stimulation leaves. You must work on emotional containment. Not everything needs immediate expression. Learn to pause, name the feeling, choose the response. This protects relationships and preserves focus. Pay attention to the stories you repeat. Stories become scripts. Scripts become behavior. Edit the story from "I'm behind" to "I'm building," from "I failed" to "I learned," from "it's too late" to "I'm starting now." You must work on starting now, not when conditions are perfect, not when motivation peaks. Now, the present moment is the only place change can happen. Pay attention to alignment between words and actions. When they disagree, confusion grows. Bring them back into agreement. Say less, do more. Let action speak long enough to rebuild credibility with yourself first. You must work on consistency under boredom. Boredom is a test, not a verdict. Stay, repeat, improve slightly. This is where most people quit and where you separate yourself. Pay attention to course correction. Don't wait for collapse to adjust. Small adjustments early prevent big corrections later. Review your week, what worked, what didn't, adjust and move on. You must work on ownership. No blaming the past, no waiting for rescue. Ownership is empowering because it puts the steering wheel back in your hands. You can't change everything, but you can change the next decision. Pay attention to who you are becoming through your habits. Habits are votes for identity. Cast better votes, not all at once, consistently. This is the work, quiet, repetitive, powerful. When you pay attention daily, life responds gradually. When you work on yourself consistently, momentum compounds. When you stay intentional, change becomes inevitable. Don't rush, don't quit. Stay with the work. Stay with this, because now we move from understanding into ownership that changes behavior. Most people know what they should do. Very few people build the systems that make doing it inevitable. The difference between insight and transformation is follow through, repeated quietly over time. You must work on clarity before effort. Effort without clarity wastes energy. Before you push harder, ask better questions. What is the one thing that, if done consistently, would make everything else easier? Until you answer that, busyness will feel productive while progress remains slow. Pay attention to where you are overworking and under-deciding. Overwork often hides indecision. When people don't decide, they compensate with activity. Decide first, then act simply. Complexity is often fear in disguise. You must work on decision commitment. Decide once and stop reopening the case. Every time you revisit a settled decision, you drain willpower, close loops, remove ambiguity. Decide what time you wake up, what time you stop, what you will and will not tolerate. Clarity reduces fatigue. Pay attention to leakage. Energy leaks through clutter, unfinished conversations. Open tabs mentally and physically. Close what you open, finish what you start, say what needs to be said. Closure restores power. You must work on sequence. Doing the right things in the wrong order creates frustration. Don't optimize before you stabilize. Don't scale before you systemize. Build the foundation before you decorate it. Sequence turns effort into momentum. Pay attention to friction. Growth requires friction in the right places. Make bad habits harder and good habits easier. Put distance between you and distraction. Put tools closer to where action should happen. Environment is a silent coach. Use it. You must work on predictable routines. Freedom grows when routines are stable. If every day is improvised, discipline collapses. Choose a few anchors: wake, walk, reflect, rest, and keep them boringly consistent. Boring routines produce exciting results. Pay attention to feedback loops. If you don't measure, you drift. Review your week. What moved the needle? What didn't? Adjust without drama. Improvement is not emotional, it's mechanical. You must work on identity-based habits. Stop asking, what do I want? Start asking, who am I becoming? Then act in alignment. Do the next small action a focused person would do. Identity follows action faster than motivation ever will. Pay attention to self-respect. Self-respect grows when your actions match your standards. Raise standards gently and keep them consistently. Do not set goals so high you break your word to yourself. Broken promises erode confidence. You must work on recovery rhythms. Pushing without recovery dulls judgment. Schedule rest, guard sleep, create space to think. Recovery is not a reward, it's maintenance. Maintain systems last. Pay attention to attention itself. Attention is your most valuable currency. Spend it intentionally. Single task when it matters. Multitasking is the tax you pay for poor planning. Depth beats speed. You must work on emotional regulation under repetition. The hardest days are the ordinary ones. Learn to show up without applause. Learn to walk without drama. Consistency under boredom is the edge. Pay attention to language precision. Say exactly what you mean to yourself. Replace vague intentions with specific actions. I'll try becomes I will do 10 minutes at 7. Precision converts intention into movement. You must work on course correction without self-criticism. When you miss a day, don't spiral. Resume. Momentum is not perfection, it's recovery speed. The faster you return, the stronger the habit becomes. Pay attention to input quality. Curate what you read, watch, and listen to. Input becomes output. If your inputs are scattered, your outputs will be too. Choose depth over noise. You must work on long-term patience. Compounding is invisible until it isn't. Trust the process you can sustain. Sustainable beats spectacular. Quiet beats chaotic. Steady beats sporadic. Pay attention to ownership language. Say, I chose instead of I had to. Say, I decided instead of I couldn't. Language shapes agency. Agency fuels action. You must work on daily reflection. End the day asking 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What's one adjustment for tomorrow? Small reflections prevent big regrets. Pay attention to who you keep close. Proximity shapes possibility. Choose people who respect your focus, not those who mock it. Protect your attention from casual erosion. You must work on finishing the day well. Close the day intentionally. Prepare for tomorrow. Release what didn't get done. Sleep with clarity, not clutter. Tomorrow starts tonight. This is how lives change. Quietly, structurally, inevitably. Not by waiting for motivation. Not by chasing inspiration. By paying attention and working on yourself daily. Stay with the work. Now let this be sealed not as a feeling, but as a decision. You are no longer living on autopilot. You are no longer ignoring the signals. You are no longer postponing responsibility. From this moment, attention is activated, ownership is restored, intention is established. You will notice yourself. You will correct early. You will finish what you start. Discipline will no longer feel foreign. Consistency will no longer feel forced. Growth will no longer feel accidental. You are working on yourself deliberately. You are paying attention to your life responsibly. No drifting, no excuses, no quiet neglect. What was heard is now applied. What was understood is now practiced. What was decided is now lived out. This seal stands over your mind, your habits, your time, and your direction. You are awake. You are intentional. You are in control. It is done.